Look, before we kick off, quick one for anyone who has said, right, this is the year, more times than they want to admit. New Year's resolutions, eh? Well, Power B is a full meal replacement shake exclusively from Nature B. It's not a snack. It's not a gimmick. It is an actual meal. It's the only shake in Australia with Nature B's Power Pollen built in, plus grass-fed whey protein and probiotics for gut health. Now, 2 shakes a day alongside a balanced diet and exercise, and it's as simple as that. Grab the intro pack for $39.95 at natureb.com. And if you grab a couple of the other goodies and spend over $79.90 before January 30, you go into the draw to win that fantastic $20,000 worth of luxury travel. Plus, if it's not for you, well, there's a 100% money-back guarantee. Follow the links in the description or head to natureb.com.
Welcome to the Bonafide podcast with Luke Bonar. And he's not
Here we go.
done
Hold your ears, folks.
yet.
It's showtime.
Pauline Hanson, welcome back to the Bonafide podcast 2026.
Thank you very much, Luke.
It's going to be an interesting year, isn't it? We've started off already with controversy, and I've got to say to you and One Nation that the poll that's been, the news poll that was conducted for the Australian, the results are out today at the time of recording. They're calling your party and you the leaders of the opposition in Australia now.
Yes, I'm hearing that. People are so disgruntled with Susan Lee as the leader of the opposition, and I don't blame them, Luke. I'm the same. I'm confused with her leadership. She's not strong in leadership. She won't come up with policy. She said since last year, since the last election, she would bring out an immigration policy. Where is it? Nothing yet. And that's the crux of our problem in Australia with mass migration, the people we've brought into the country. She's done nothing about it. Even climate change, she was dragging her heels there to deal with it, this net zero. The thing is that now she's saying, okay, we won't go along with net zero, but we'll stay in the Paris Agreement. That's hypocritical. The Paris Agreement is net zero. So that's why people are fed up with her, with the Libs.
Do you think that she's finding it really frustrating, learning now as a leader of a major party, that you can't just make decisions and run with the decisions of the leader? You've got to get everything past cabinet, and it takes a lot of time, and you're dealing with factions. This is probably why you enjoy the position you're in. It's your way or the highway.
Look, it does have a lot to do with it. The Liberal Party over the years has been taken over by the moderates. Turnbull was a moderate as well. So I see the moderates in the party. Look, when I put up a bill or a notice of motion to have a Senate inquiry into gender dysphoria, and you've got the Libs there was half a dozen of them that sat on the bench and purposely voted against that inquiry. That's these ones. You know, I'm talking about Maurice Payne was there at that time. You're talking about Simon Birmingham, Jane Hume, Richard Colbeck, Dean Smith, Bragg. You know, these people, they are the moderates. And that's where it's pulling the Liberal Party down. You won't get rid of them. They're there. It's taken over New South Wales. So this is the problem. But Susan Lee is also a moderate herself. So
Yeah.
you can't have the factions. And yes, I do have it, but I'm strong in who I bring onto the party. They have to be like-minded in their views. I'm not going to have factions in the party. That's why I have no intentions of actually joining up with all these other minor parties and having the factions start within One Nation and pull it apart. It won't happen.
Well, we could see that was probably going to happen with Mark Latham. Do you regret that decision?
Look, Mark did an excellent job when he came into the party, and Mark, especially on education, New South Wales, he was a great asset. But he never did the work, and Mark just didn't want to be under a party. Mark only used One Nation to get himself elected to Parliament, do what he wanted to do. So he wasn't a team player.
Well, the members of both sides of politics are calling your latest poll win the Barnaby bump. Do you think you might have the same problem with Barnaby Joyce, who was Deputy Prime Minister, was acting Prime Minister on a number of occasions? Do you think you might have the same leadership tussle with Barnaby Joyce?
No, look, it's nothing but a leadership tussle whatsoever. Mark wasn't out after a leadership tussle with me at all.
Or a policy
and
tussle.
Barnaby's not that. It wasn't a policy tussle at all. Mark just wasn't interested. Mark never did the work in lead up to the state election. He only stood 17 candidates. He wasn't prepared to work. He didn't want the candidates. He didn't target One Nation whatsoever. He had his seat. That's all he was interested in getting a seat for Mark Latham. He wasn't interested in growing the party or expanding on our policies, what we wanted to do for the country. Barnaby's a different kettle of fish. Barnaby is a worker. The Nats know now what they've lost, his ability to actually work the people. Barnaby's so well liked by the people. Mark Latham's not. A different character, different personality. And that's why I love working with Barnaby. Barnaby has said, it is so great working with you, to have the freedom that he has and to be able to say what he wants to say. I don't control the members of Parliament, but I do expect people to do the work. It's like our former Senator for New South Wales. I didn't endorse him for the second term because he was lazy. That was the reason. He never did anything. And I thought, why do you reward people for bad behaviour? You don't do it.
Why don't you say what you really think?
Well, I was honest with him. I give them warnings. I tell them. And I tell the people, if you vote for One Nation, I expect them to do the work for you, working for the people. We don't have the time to sit back on our haunches. The way the country's going, we have to have fighters in there fighting for our standard of living, our way of life, and for people want their members of Parliament to have their interests at heart. And that's what I've tried to do.
Well, he said something interesting on Channel 7 Sunrise this morning. You would have heard it. He said, he's not interested in political correctness. He'd rather put the people of Australia first. You've never cared about political correctness, have you?
No, I haven't. And I'm not going to apologise for that either.
Well, you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to. You're Pauline Hanson. You've always run your own race. But why do you think so many I think I know the answer, but I want to hear it from you. Why do you think One Nation is drawing so many traditional conservative voters?
Because we're going back to the conservative values about the family, freedom of speech, being able to work and reap the rewards of your hard work. It's all about Australia, who we are, the Australian identity, our culture, our way of life. We haven't had politicians fighting for any of that. They couldn't care less. And we've let these woke into our institutions, into the universities, bureaucrats, all the rest of it. These people wouldn't have a clue how to run a chook raffle, let alone running the country. And then they're pushing their own ideology. And the politicians who are brain dead, because a lot of these, most of these haven't even had a real job in the real world or done anything or employed people. Mm. So they don't know what to do. So they're listening to the bureaucrats who are telling them going along with it because they haven't done their own homework, their own research. These people who are ministers in these positions, they're hopeless, absolutely hopeless.
I often get frustrated with federal politics, and I've been following it for a long time, as you know, and it frustrates me that a lot of politicians are only making policies as far ahead as the next election, and they're not thinking 50 or 100 years in the future. Can I just ask you this? The Prime Minister, I don't know what his problem is. He seems to refuse to listen, and not just to the public, but people that he turns to for advice. So we can talk about his digging in of his heels on a royal commission into Bondi. He's changed his mind, but only after kicking and screaming. And now we also found out just recently that he's going to have to rethink his legislation on hate speech, separated from legislation on gun control. And yet the people he turned to for advice said to him, no, you've rushed this through. And even Islamic and Jewish leaders said, no, you haven't thought this through. You're going to have to take a bit more time on it. What's his problem?
You see, he held off for about 3 weeks to have a royal commission, although the public and leaders throughout the whole country are saying we need a royal commission into anti-Semitism in Australia. So then on top of this, he was going down the polls. And people were pushing him, and that's why he came out with this. So he quickly drafted up this piece of legislation it was the wrong move because he wasn't getting the wrong advice. And it's a complex piece of legislation that not only just drawing it up, but it has to be constitutionally sound, which I don't believe it is, and can be challenged under Section 116 of the Australian Constitution. So now he's got egg on his face. So he's embarrassed by this, and he thought he'd get the Greens on his side, but the Greens were opposing the bill themselves. So once he was dead set, the both bills to go together because he wants to get his gun laws through. And that's only defecting the whole problem and not addressing the people that we have in the country, the people we have allowed into the country. So he wants to cover it up with the gun laws. So he's been hopeless in how he's handled this. He's not dealing with the real issue, which is radical Islam and the hate preachers that we have in Australia.
What's Pauline Hanson's answer to hate speech? Because I tell you something, I said this on Channel 7 the other day. To me, Australians, even Australians who have lived here for 1 or 2 or 3 generations that believe in radical Islam, it's like when your software has been infected on your computer, it's broken. How do we refix that software? Because it's been infected by a terrible virus for a long time now. Do you agree?
It has been. This has been for a couple of decades at least that I'm aware of, and possibly even 3. Even the federal police admitted that since COVID, there's been an increase of youth being radicalised. And I even heard some Muslims say that we've got no problem with it, but our children are being radicalised, and they said in the school system. In the educational system, yeah. And one friend of mine, from going to a college in a rural regional area, it was a Catholic school, and yet they were being taught about Islam. The mother rang me up because she'd been a great friend of mine for about 15 years, and she was very concerned about her son.
This is an Islamic woman?
No, Australian woman sent her son to a Christian college school.
Sorry, yes.
And he was learning Islam at a Catholic school. She rang me up concerned that he was being radicalised. So anyway, I did speak to the principal. He said that we do offer all different religious teachings here. They do have this an exam for it, but she was very concerned he's been radicalised. His opinion of knowing, he was about 14 at this age. I'd known the child since he was 2 years of age, and he came home and said, "Why is Pauline Hanson racist?" Never, ever uttered those words beforehand. She said, "You know he's not." She's not. And she was very concerned about him. She spoke to the school when I saw them. So we need to really have a look at that as an example. But it's not only this was a Catholic school. I think we need to really have a hard look at what they're teaching in the Islamic schools as well. The whole problem is radicalisation that's happening. So one of those shooters was under terror watch, and he was, again, also been radicalised. So look, I'm going to say it, I'll call it out for what it is. You just do not bring people in from certain countries that are incompatible with our culture and way of life. You just put a ban on it. They don't come in. Trump's done it. I've said this previously. We need to really, instead of worrying about passing laws, to be able to strip them of their citizenship if we can, because they're all challenged in the High Court. Start by looking at stopping these people from coming in the first place. Why don't we have stricter rules and regulations on who we bring into the country? And if we don't start waking up to ourselves and being hard on this, we're going to end up like England. And England is one hell of a mess where even parts of England, the police can't even go into these areas. And you got over 1,000 Sharia law courts. It's controlled by the Muslims in many parts. England's lost. It's finished. And we've got to realise, what sort of country do we want?
How would you combat hate speech? If you were writing the legislation, what would that legislation contain?
Luke, we've already got it now. We've got laws in place now, 18C. So we've got the laws now to stop anyone from doing these speeches, but the governments haven't done anything about it. The police have done nothing about it. It's the politicians. They've said, no, don't arrest those people. We've allowed areas to become so dominated by these people that they rely on their vote to get certain members of Parliament elected. But we've got it here. Why weren't those hate preachers pulled up on the streets after the October 2023 disaster that happened, a massacre that happened in Israel? They were on the streets preaching. Why were those ones at the Opera House allowed to say what they had to say? Why weren't they moved on? Why did we allow the protest marches to go on, flying Palestinian flags? We've got laws in place, but they haven't had the will to actually say no more.
A very wise friend of mine, one of my ex-bosses actually, had a great saying. He said it's easier to change behaviour than it is to change attitude. All right, this is where it gets interesting. Power B's already doing the heavy lifting. Full meal replacement, chocolate flavour. It really fills you up. And it's the only shake in Australia with Nature Bee's Power Pollen inside it. You've got premium grass-fed whey protein, 4 strains of probiotics, vitamins designed to keep you fueled without overthinking it, 2 shakes a day alongside a balanced diet and exercise. Done. But here's the kicker. Nature Bee's running a bucket list competition. And it wraps up Friday, January 30. We're talking about scoring a $20,000 life-changing travel experience. Amalfi Coast, Egypt, the Great Barrier Reef, the Grand Canyon by helicopter, anything you want. 10 more winners get gift cards and Nature Bee prizes as well. And all you need to do is spend $79.90 for your chance to win. All you need is a valid passport and a little bit of initiative. And yep, it's backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. Click the links in the description. Head to naturebee.com. How do you change attitude?
That's a good question. Attitude is basically ingrained in people. So they have this attitude, like a lot of the young ones now are being brainwashed through the educational system of what they've been taught, because we don't teach critical thinking. We don't teach the other side of the coin. And so we've allowed their educational system to get to this stage. And the same, it's in universities. How often do we hear that kids who go to university are so far left-leaning that it's not till after they actually come out and experience the real world and have their own children that they start to realise and have a good look at the world that it is. As I say, and I will say, it starts from the educational system, what they've been taught. This is why we're losing a lot of the older teachers who are just disgusted with the curriculums and what they're told to teach. Then you've got the ones coming through university being brainwashed. They're ending up in the classrooms. They're teaching that ideology onto our kids. Go back to the basics in school and just teach about social science, about, the history of Australia. And even that's been brainwashed towards the Aboriginal way of thinking, which is we're not teaching about our own history, and get back to the basics, English, maths and science.
Just moving on to the proposed gun laws. Does Australia need new gun laws? Does it need gun reform?
No. We've got some of the toughest gun laws in the world. And the thing is that the gun laws, the government has failed. The son, who actually was being investigated over the last couple of years and on a watch, he should not have been allowed to be living in a house with his father who had guns. Now, that was a failure. That should never have been allowed. We are so hard on people with domestic violence issues, any charges against them, they don't have their guns. So why do we allow anyone with a terrorist to actually live in a house with gun laws? The gun laws are, guns are held by people who are law-abiding citizens, and they have to register their guns. They have to have everything locked up under key. That's not the issue here. The issue are the people. And you've got about 200,000 illegal guns in Australia. You'll always have illegal guns, and that's by people who want to, use them possibly, like they did in this case, to hurt and pain or maim or kill people. So you never stop that. By going after law-abiding Australians is not the answer to all this.
Just one other thing, because Australia Day is just around the corner. There's always talk of changing the date, that the 26th of January is divisive. And recently, the ANU secured a $1.5 million in federal funding, taxpayers' money, to study the future of Australia Day. The study was called Change the Date. What do you make of this?
A complete waste of money. What an absolute rubbish this is. The people that are here today weren't around in January 2026, all right, and which is Australia Day. We now call it Australia Day. What difference does it make? The hate is there. They don't want to see Australia Day. These people have dead set, it was Invasion Day, that's it, finish with. It doesn't matter what day you move it to make it Australia Day. The title is Australia Day. These people will never acknowledge that this country has now been settled by people that are born and bred here and live here and consider this to be their home. So it doesn't matter. I don't care what date you move it to. You'll never appease these people. It'll be a start of a move, a foot in the door, then eventually to get rid of it totally altogether.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of Australians who say they hate feeling guilty about celebrating Australia Day. And for those who want to change the date, well, I haven't yet heard of an alternative date. And I don't want it to be Anzac Day. To me, personally, Anzac Day is Australia Day. It really galvanises us. But to me, Anzac Day is not a day of celebration. It's a day of remembrance. But that's just my point of view.
I totally agree with you. And I would be so angry if they did make it Anzac Day. That's a special day to honour the men and women and the sacrifices made for our country. People have lost their lives. But the whole fact is there's this movement out there of people, these people weren't around then. They need to have a look at their own backyard. A lot of these people wouldn't have, the lifestyle or the, health services or a roof over the head if it wasn't for colonisation that happened here. A lot of these people, who claim Aboriginality wouldn't even be around. And where's remembering the people of the convict settlers, how they were treated? They were dragged from their own homeland out here for stealing a loaf of bread, and they ended up in a strange country under the conditions they had to live under. So, you can look at the colonialists and the ones of their history, but do they whinge and complain about it? No, they don't. And do they want to change Australia Day? No, they don't. I've never heard anyone of that background say they want to change Australia Day either. So, people need to move on. My attitude is like they're carrying on as if they're the victim. They're not the victim. Victim of what? They're the victim of the lifestyle that we are privileged to have in this country now. They're playing the victim because of what happened over 250 years ago. And it makes me so angry about it. I can play the victim because I was wrongfully imprisoned in 2003, but I don't. My attitude is you can't change history. Move on, get over it, and pick up your life.
I wanted to talk to you about that, but I know that we're running out of time today, but you were wrongfully imprisoned in 2003. And yet you don't seem to be holding a grudge. I don't know what's going on underneath that fiery red hair of yours, but you seem to have just taken it in your stride. Anyone else would be absolutely filthy. I think of Lindy Chamberlain, who was also exonerated. How do you let go of that, Pauline?
You don't. You've got to say to yourself, it's no point carrying this hatred. Do you think it's going to change? Nothing can change. Nothing I say or do or anything that will happen will ever change the fact that it happened to me. And you just sort of say, okay, it's another experience in my life. Not a good one, but it's something that actually did happen. Yep. And you've got to say, okay, take the most out of it. You know what? When I was in prison, I was able to help. I helped one woman. Mm-hmm. You know what? I helped her get a retrial, and she was up on a murder charge. I got her a retrial where she was found not guilty. She got her life back. I helped an Aboriginal get housing when she got out so she could be with the children. I helped another young one get legal advice and assistance because she shouldn't have been in that place. So I take the positives out of that. My time in there was I was able to help other women. And I think, did I want to be there? No one in the wide world. Did it upset me? Was it depressed? Did it have an impact on my children? You bet it did. Did it have an impact on me? Yes, it did. But I can't change it, Luke. Yeah. I can't change what's happened.
Yeah.
And that's why I get so angry with these people today. It didn't affect them. They weren't here with the country 250 years ago. That was generations ago. Why do you keep carrying on with it now? It didn't impact you. There's been so many compensations, sorry's been said, all this has been done to appease them time and time again until the day comes that we are all acknowledged equally as Australians, not the division based on your cultural background, but treated equally as Australians. That's when we'll start to mend as a country.
It's interesting because I've spoken a number of times to Jacinta Napajimba Price, who's now joined the Liberal Party. She says leave the date alone as well. And she's a very proud Indigenous woman, born and bred Alice
Correct.
Springs.
Yes. She is.
Do you get on with her?
Yes, I do. I get on very well with her. We're on the same page, but I wish she'd work with me more diligently and to actually make changes to, corruption and other thing that's happening within the Aboriginal industry. I wanted to move a bill so that, we treat everyone equally. So I didn't get the support that I needed, but it's something I'm passionate about, and I think it will start to heal our nation if we get rid of the division and treat people equally on an individual needs basis, not based on race.
On a lighter note, we're talking about Australia Day. Do you want to know a day that I'm working on? Are you with me on this?
Yeah, okay.
I'm an ideas man, okay? I want to start, and we're working on it with James Ward from drive.com.au. We are going to launch National Thank You Wave Day. You know how good you feel when you got someone who's trying to merge into traffic and you pull back and you let them in, and how good you feel when they give you that thank you wave? It makes you smile. What do you think? National? No, come on. National, and we're looking at May 8th.
Okay. So you got to pluck a day out of the air, and we give each other a wave.
The millennials picked the 8th of May, Mate Day, and we're going to try and launch National Thank You Wave Day, because when you do something nice, it can be contagious. We're asking people to pay it forward and slow down, let somebody in, and then when they do, give them a thank you wave. Don't you think that's got legs? Stop laughing.
Oh, well, if that makes you happy, go for it. It's not negative. It's not negative, so it's positive. So
when someone lets you into traffic, do you give them a thank you wave?
Of course I do.
Well, there you are.
Of course I do. Everyone does it. Everyone does it anyway.
Not
Most
enough.
people do it automatically anyway.
No, not enough. We want national awareness. Come on, I need your support.
I'm not knocking it back. You do it.
All right.
If you want to.
Okay, that's as close as an endorsement I'll get from Pauline.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
What's that got to do with changing anything to do with Australia Day? So you're not talking about making it Australia Day, but you just want a National Wave Day.
I do.
I'm just saying to people,
yes.
You let them in. So what about all the other days? You don't wave to them.
No, but it might catch on to the next day. You come on, throw me a bone, Pauline.
You're going to laugh out of me, but anyway, people do it anyway.
That'll do me.
People basically are polite and generous, and I do thank them for letting me in. You're sitting there waiting. But anyway, no, Luke, you put it out there to your listeners. See what they say.
Well, I will indeed, but I was hoping for a bigger endorsement from the leader of One Nation, but I got to laugh. I got to laugh out of...
Listen, Luke, I've got to think of more important things to do with the country and turn this country around. National Wave Day, great. You tell me what day and date. If anyone lets me in, I'll give them a big wave.
Everyone should do it. Hey, Pauline Hanson, always good to talk to you. Thank you so much. I know you're very, very busy.
Thanks,
we get a lot of people who say, is Pauline Hanson Australia's Donald Trump? Have you heard that? How do you react to that?
Yes, I hear. I've heard it all the time. Actually, I take it as a compliment. I tell you why. I like Donald. He's a strong leader. He knows what he wants for his country. He stands up and fights for them. And if I can be in any way related to that, that's exactly who I am. But remember, I've been around a lot longer before Donald Trump, and I've been pushing these policies for the last 30 years. And it's coming up on the 2nd of March, my 30th anniversary when I was first elected to Parliament.
There you go. Pauline Hanson, thank you so much for your time. Can we talk again soon, one day?
Thanks, Luke. Yes, of course we can. Okay.
And remember Pauline, remember the wave.
I definitely will, Luke. Every time.
And a quick reminder, Power B from Nature B, the full meal replacement. Power pollen, beautiful chocolate flavour. And if you spend over $79.90, and basically 2 intro packs for you and a friend, and then you're in the running to win a $20,000 bucket list travel experience of a lifetime. That competition ends Friday, January 30, so don't let it slip. Head to natureb.com